This is something that we've been wanting to do for a really long time, and I'm beyond excited to have 4 amazing photographers joining me on this panel. So I'm going to go through a little bit of a brief introduction of each of the photographers that are joining us, and also sort of fill you in on some of their specialties that they have as well. So first off in the studio we have Luisa Dunn. Luisa's been a photographer for 7 years, and she's been teaching photographers for over 4 years. You also have a background in PR and marketing, don't you?
Yes, yeah. 11 years.
Wow,
Yeah.
Incredible. And we also have Amanda Cowan joining us as well. Amanda's been a photographer for 7 years, and she's also been a neonatal intensive care nurse for 15 years, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's. I think the two link together quite nicely. So it's nice to be able to bring that insight into working with babies.
Yeah, absolutely. And Amanda was actually working in the intensive care unit when my twins were born. So that was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was my very first experience with a neonatal intensive care unit, because obviously nobody wants to be in there with their baby, but it was a real eye-opener as to what some parents really go through when they have sick babies or premature babies.
Yeah, it's a completely different world. I think most people have no idea that it even exists. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
and you don't really want to know much about it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
As a parent,
if people are worried about whether their baby's going to have big ears or not, that's the best thing. I think when you get into worrying about things going wrong, it gets scary. So it's nice to be naive about my world.
Yeah, absolutely. And then joining us online, we have Rebecca Connolly, who's all the way in Sydney. Not that far away, really, but when you drive from Brisbane to Sydney, it's just about over 10 hours, I think it is. So she's joining us live online. And Rebecca's been a photographer for, I have my notes here, 7 years, and she's been teaching for 3 years. But another really amazing fact about Rebecca is, I'm going to read it so I don't get it wrong, is that Rebecca's currently a visiting faculty member of the law school at the University of Sydney. So how long have you been a lawyer for, Rebecca?
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I really want to tell you that. But enough to have 3 degrees in law, so a long time.
Wow, that's incredible. I don't know how you can dedicate yourself to that much study.
It was, it was just a matter of keeping on going. But to, be an academic at a law school, you need to do the highest level of degrees. So, and I knew I wanted to eventually do teaching. So I did practice as a lawyer as well. I was a litigator, and then I moved into academics, and that allows me to do the photography, which is amazing.
Yeah, and your work is just beautiful. So, kudos to you for having a full-time operating photography studio and doing all of that study and doing amazing work there.
Thank you.
Okay, and next we have Kristen Mackay, who is joining us all the way from Tulsa in Oklahoma. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Kristen's been a newborn photographer for 11 years, and she's been teaching for over 8 years, but she also has a background in human resources. So can you tell me a little bit about that? What did you used to do before photography?
So I worked at a convenience store corporate office, and I did all of the interviewing for the corporate office, as well as assisted all of our managers in the HR department. So customer relationships is at the top of my list when working in this business.
Yeah, fantastic. So as you can see, we have a really huge range of skills and knowledge and experience that we're bringing to this panel. And what we're talking about are our opinions, and it's just a discussion on what we're passionate about, which is definitely newborn safety. But Rebecca's actually gonna jump in here and talk a little bit about our, what we're discussing and what you can take from it.
Yes, thanks, Kelly. I just wanted to make a quick comment before we get this discussion on the way. But a huge welcome to everybody that's joining us online live or watching it on the replay. But what I wanted to quickly mention is a lot of the topics that we will be discussing today will have legal issues, and we know that discussing those are really important for you. But we need to make it really clear that we're not giving specific legal advice. And if there's anything that we mentioned today that you're worried about or that you think really concerns you with your business, we would definitely encourage you to make sure you go and see a lawyer and get that legal advice that relates specifically to you and your business and your location. Because the tricky thing about law is, depending on where you are located, the law can actually be different. Even between different states in the one country, the laws are not always the same. So we just thought we'd make that really clear, that we're talking really generally. And if anyone has any issues, and I know the law can be a bit scary, but if you are having trouble finding a lawyer, or you're a bit nervous about it, you can shoot me an email and I'll help you out.
Fantastic. Thank you. And like we both said, this is basically a very relaxed conversation between the five of us about some of the topics that we see come up in social media, emails that we receive from, curious photographers, and also some of the things that we see that potentially sort of catch our eye because there may be some risks and dangers around what we see. So we're just basically going to share our opinions, and if at any point in time you have a question for us or anyone particularly on the panel, pop it into the comments, and if we have time at the end of this discussion, we're going to get to those questions. So yeah, and even after the live is finished, what we can do is jump in and answer some of those questions as well. So if you've got something there, let us know. Make sure you interact on that comments column and share some love with all of these amazing photographers, because they've given up amazing amount of time to be able to come and do this and share this this knowledge and experience with you all. So we're very grateful, and I'm just beyond excited to have you all here with me.